do want to talk about one of your latest pieces on China and your recent visit there, but just in general terms, ISM manufacturing, ISM services, the overall economy and recession fears are justified, yes or no?
No, we just discussed the data at length, the jobs market data.
Yes.
And that in a nutshell tells you what's happening in the global economy, which is this, that the single biggest reason why global growth today is much lower than what it used to be a decade or two ago has to do with demographics. And I just find this is a point which hasn't been sufficiently internalized, which is that in per capita income terms, the growth rates that many parts of the world is seeing is not bad, including Japan. But just that we are still so focused on headline GDP growth numbers, and our anchoring bias is still all about what happened between 1950 and 2008, when the global economy used to grow at 4% because of an incredible demographic boom which we had. And this is one of the underappreciated points, which is that just as you were having the global financial crisis in 2008, the global economy independently was also seeing a demographic cliff, which is that the working age population of the world was beginning to really fall off very sharply after having exploded in the post-war era.
We referenced that earlier, even in China, where we think that there's a lot of workers that are underutilized, but even in China, there is a worker shortage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I was in China, as you referred to, and what I find quite sort of remarkable there now is an increasing recognition that they cannot grow at 6% even anymore. And that recognition is coming from the fact that if we have full employment or close to full employment at whatever growth rate we have just now, why do we need to stimulate more to grow? So I think this recognition that what economic growth used to be in the post-war era just isn't anymore because of the 4 Ds that I speak about.
Go over those 4 Ds.
Yeah. So the most important one, demographics, that the world's working age population growth rate now is half what it used to be before 2008
Even
or
with
so.
automation. It's amazing. I thought automation was going to take over and technology was going to take over and we're going to have too many people.
That's right. It. So the opposite has happened. That so far, we need robots to help us, not to basically take our jobs away.
And they are. When you just went to China, there were some around.
So if you look at the world today, the highest robot density is in those countries where the working age population is too old or shrinking. So you need robots to supplement rather than rather than to take jobs away.
You've been worried about this for a while, and it's actually helping, not hurting.
Yeah, because the global unemployment rate today is close to an all-time low.
Correct.
So, despite the fact that you have pretty weak economic growth. So demographics, the single most important reason as to why you have slow economic growth.
What's the next?
Second, deglobalization.
Deglobalization.
Right, which is that everywhere now, and this is not just about trade. We focus in terms of just trade and globalization. But if you look at what's happening to capital flows, even people flows, and in China, as I was there, even the digital flows are getting balkanized. Like in China, the ecosystem is totally independent of the rest of the world in terms of, what gadgets you can use, what internet services you can use. So you have deglobalization on all those 4 vectors. Okay. Then you have too much debt. Right.
That is another D.
Exactly. Like another D, which is that the debt levels today have plateaued as a share of global GDP.
And that causes slower growth, too.
Yeah, because the debt impulse is not there. In the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, when you had a debt impulse, when debt was surging, it was helping economic growth as well. And the 4th D has to do with declining productivity. That we just
declining.
Yes, that we just
That's a P. Declining productivity.
Right, but to make it rhyme, 4 Ds, right? Declining productivity. So therefore, I think that the defining feature of the global economy are these 4 Ds, the most important one being demographics, because that accounts for half of economic growth historically.
Isn't it crazy to deglobalize if we're having a problem with demographics?
Can't stop it.
Deglobalization keep the surplus labor from getting to the surplus demand for labor?
Of course, that's a perfectly valid economic argument.
So 1 and 2 are working right against each other. And we're seeing it right now where there are unfilled jobs in the manufacturing sector. We have this manufacturing slowdown. We don't have jobs for it. But our ability to outsource and use China is now going down.
Absolutely correct. So, in fact, those countries, so what do you do now? This is the environment that we're presented with. Deglobalization is happening because of political reasons, because of social reasons, that the social fabric in many parts of the world has been torn a bit because of the incredible immigrant influx we had over the last couple of decades. That's just the reality. Now, the economic argument is this should be countered by more immigration, but that's just not the political reality. So we have this reality of the 4 Ds, which are dragging down global growth everywhere. There's not one country in the world today which is growing at a faster pace compared to a decade ago. Right? So, I mean, that's a remarkable thing, not one.
For the productivity, your very first paragraph, I should send this. Did you see this?
I did not see it.
Read his piece. Read his piece. Get his piece. You landed in China with an Indian passport. The scanner speaks to you in automated Hindi immediately. Check into a prototype hotel. No clerks, only a scanner that recognizes you as the person who booked the room. You open your room with no key, just your face. You go to a new grocery store. The meal is delivered by little white robots rolling along a sparkling white track. And then you have a digital payment app because no one has cash. This is all happening. Now, this is all, but this all seems like it's good for productivity, though.
In China, it is. So in terms of the fact is that this is one of, my second story, which is that we were all concerned 3 to 4 years ago, including me, about the fact that China may face a financial crisis because of the incredible debt that it had built up.
Zombie companies, zombie buildings.
That's right. How did it avoid this? And to me, the single biggest reason why China has avoided that is because of this incredible rise of the new economy in China, where the biggest consumer tech revolution that's happening anywhere in the world is in China. So if you look at the penetration of many key internet services, many sort of tech services, China's penetration levels and usage is at comparable levels to many developed countries, and in some cases even higher than what's here. So some of the most sophisticated department stores you will see in the world are in China, with deliveries happening, with drones and without any cash. And I was there in Shenzhen, and I saw that. And the other thing which is really remarkable, how they've cleaned up crime. That Shenzhen used to be this sort of,
facial recognition, all the criminals left.